So you want to play keys on a worship team and sound great doing it. And you've learned chords where you're feeling stuck and not liking how basic and chunky the movements are sounding. Or having a hard time keeping up with quick changes, not sure where to go. And the secret isn't actually moving around the keyboard faster, it's not to move at all. So notice how your pinky and thumb aren't even moving, and it's so simple. Yet this is going to sound great in a worship mix. In this video, I'm going to show you two methods, one which is easy and lazy, and one which is slightly more technical, but enables you to be even lazier. Today, we're going to be using the song Reckless Love in the key of D as our example. I'll have the chord chart linked in the description below if you'd like to follow along. And this song is in 3/4 timing, but it uses the same 4 chords for the entire song. The chords are B minor, A, G, and D. If you don't know how to build out a basic chord, you can check out my previous video, which is linked right here. The first trick to not moving so much is called an inversion. Every chord has a basic root formation and 2 inversions. For example, the G chord, our root position is GBD, what we've already learned. Where the thumb is G, middle finger is B, pinky is D. Every chord can also be what's called inverted. All that means that you play the same 3 notes, but we swap the order around a little bit. So we're going to invert this for our first position inversion. B, D, G. We could invert it one more time, and we could go D, G, B. Now if we invert it again, you'll see that we're back at the same position. If we moved up again, we'd be at GBD again. Now, these 3 inversions are called root position, first inversion, second inversion. Now, what's great about inversions is that we can strategically choose which formation we want, so we can be lazy and keep our hand in relatively the same location for an entire song. So back to Reckless Love. Let's figure out how to strategically form our chords for this song. First step is to pick where on the keyboard we want our right hand to stay. I would say for most songs, a good starting point is to place your thumb and pinky around the 1 and 5 of the key. Since we're in the key of D, our 1 and 5 are D and A. So we're going to camp our thumb out around D, and we're going to camp our pinky out around A, and this trick works for any key you're in. So if you were in key of G, you do the same thing. Keep your thumb camped out around the G, pinky camped out around the D. So let's look at the first chord of the song. First chord we're looking at is a B minor, and the 3 notes of B minor would be B, D, and F sharp. That's what that would sound like, but you notice we're a little bit away from our home base. So if we can invert it and bring it up to that home base, that's what we would prefer. So if we inverted this once, you'll see that we've got all similar notes as our original starting position, but we just move the A up to a B. So that's what we're going to choose for our B minor inversion. Next, we have our A chord, and if we go back to our 1-5 position, D with our thumb, A with our pinky, our original chord would be A, C sharp, E, which again, we're a little too far from home base. We can check our next inversion, that's C sharp, E, A, and you can see that that gets us right in home base. We've got our pinky on A, which is where it started at, but we've just moved our thumb and middle finger down. If we were to go up, we'd be just slightly out of home base, so I prefer this first inversion. So far we've got B minor and A. Next, we have our G chord, and I'm going to stay at my 1-5 position with D and A and try to find a position that keeps us in that home base. So the G chord is G, B, D, so our options, this is obviously too far from home base. We could move it up. Still a little far, let's move it up one more. And there we go. We're right at home base. Our thumb is back on our D, A has moved up to a B, and our middle finger has moved up to a G. Now finally, we're going to resolve with our 1 chord, which is a D, and our normal configuration is D, F sharp, A, which is perfect. Our 1 chord is already in the correct spot, so we're not going to have to move that at all. Alright, so we did it. Here's what it sounds like all together. And notice how little our hand moves. You'll notice your thumb mostly hangs out on the D, your pinky goes back and forth between B and A, and the middle finger stays 1 note within F sharp. It starts on F sharp, then it moves 1 to the left of F sharp, then it moves 1 to the right of F sharp, then it back to F sharp. It helps you can run through each finger individually before putting it all together. Now this works great and brings down our hand moving all over the place quite a bit. But for the second method, if you would like an even lazier version, yet slightly more technical, here's the mega lazy way. Our thumb and pinky are literally not going to move at all. So I don't want to get into the weeds of how this works on this video, but most worship songs use only 4 chords like I'd mentioned, the 1, 4, 5, and 6. And in varying orders. Reckless Love is no exception. It starts on the 6, which is B minor, moves to a 5, which is A, goes down to a G, which is a 4, and then goes down to a 1, which is D. Now here's where the trick comes in. 1 chord, you're using the 1, 3, 5. For your 4 chord, you're using the 1, 4, 5. For your 5 chord, you're doing the 1, 2, 5. And for your 6 chord, you're doing the 1, 3, 5. and we don't have to get into the weeds on how all of this works, but basically in this trick I'm about to teach you, you won't have to move at all, but it makes your chords sound a lot more professional and polished, like how a lot of worship chords are actually built to be played. So just like before, we're going to keep our thumb on the 1 of the key, which is D, and we're going to keep our pinky on the 5 of the key, which is A. Now, for our B minor chord, we're going to make it a B minor 7, and then our middle finger is going to be playing the middle note, F sharp. There's a B minor 7. Now for the A chord, or the 5, normally we would be playing A, C sharp, E, but we're going to make it an A sus, which is actually A, D, E. So we're going to keep our thumb and pinky on the D and A, but we're going to play an E also. Next, for our G chord, or the 4 chord, our notes would be G, B, and D, but we're going to make it a G add 2, which is G, A, and D. We already have our D and A again, but we're going to play the G, or the 4 of the key, instead of the 3. And here's what this sounds like. And then finally, for our D chord, we again don't have to change anything because our root position is perfect. D, F sharp, A has us covered. So our thumb and pinky are literally staying in the same spot the whole time, and they haven't moved. So we've got, for our B minor chord, 1, 3, 5. And for our 1 chord, we also have 1, 3, 5. For our 4 chord, we're actually going to put our 4 in there. And then for our 5 chord, we're going to put our 2 in there. Here's how it sounds all together. So notice how your pinky and thumb aren't even moving, and it's so simple. Yeah, this is going to sound great in a worship mix. So I mentioned that inversions make your playing more smooth and easier to play, but sometimes it's hard to build a song dynamically with these chords and still sound really professional. If you'd like a trick that's even easier than this and sounds more pro than what I just showed you, check out this video where I'm going to teach you my 4-step Lord method that makes building the dynamics of a song effortless.